Ahoy gamers! What's up? I wanted to make a sailing ramble to give my thoughts on the skill in the open alpha. Sailing will be without a doubt the biggest update to ever come to OSRS, and I'm seeing lots of positivity for it, but also a lot of negativity, which is to be expected because things are gonna change. OSRS will actually never be old school after this, in my opinion. Like, the game will actually not die, but old school will die with this update. But to be honest, we kinda lost old school the moment we started adding stuff like Nightmare Zone and Grand Exchange. That is also not old school to me personally. But yeah, after 12 years of this game, I think the time is right for a new skill. Years ago when they pulled warding and that failed, luckily, because it just wasn't time yet for a new skill. People didn't finish skilling at that time. So now that the top page has been filled for years, I think you could make the argument that now the time is right for it. And skilling just rarely gets a win in my book. It's always crap Toontown skilling minigames that offer mid XP and not so much engagement. So an entire new skill is super exciting in my opinion. Figuring out all the metas and strategies in the race to 99 and 200 mil, that isn't that what we love about skilling? Mainly the HLC skillers that I'm talking to here, optimizing something new and just doing some fucking poorly stimulating activity for thousands of hours, just getting lost in the flow. Isn't that what skilling is about, to us? I'll get to talking about concerns and stuff that I have, and also hear from others later in the video, but first I want to say, sailing good. Is it the perfect skill for OSRS? Maybe. I think it's very close. If not, maybe it is the best one. I was personally a big fan of the Bard proposal, the skill with the music stuff. I think that sounded amazing. And also archaeology could work in old school, I think, as the first skill. But I think those two skills would still change quite a lot about the game. Archaeology had a lot of buffs and augments and stuff for RS3, I'm pretty sure. Not augments, but I don't know. I don't really know that game. But you had stuff you had to do archaeology for to get better things, and that impacted PVM and other aspects of the game. And I had the same with shamanism. The shamanism debate, of course, is still rising somewhat, or still going on. But shamanism just was mainly pitched as its reward space and not so much as the actual skill. At least that's what I got from it when they were proposing it. They were just talking about a bunch of augmenting and creating variants of existing gear and items, and that just sounded very awful to me. I could already just imagine having to Fortnite buff all your gear every time you go for a PVM trip with this new skill, and then you have a core training loop for the skill that was pretty weak. It sounded like some room crafting where you had to run to a place and then just do some gathering and then just bank stand for a little bit. It just sounded pretty weak. But coming back to sailing, I think sailing is pretty isolated in that aspect. The other ideas of skills would change the game so much. Same with summoning. People keep bringing up summoning. That's also that, dude, that's gonna really affect the game. And sailing is just gonna be yeah, we're gonna get a whole ocean to explore, and you're not gonna really see sailing happening where you're just not doing Inferno or whatever, or just walking around from Varrock to Falador. So it's kind of good in that way. It doesn't really get in your face if you're just playing the game normally. And it will also have some crossover skills like farming, fishing, mining, and hunter to integrate it with the other skills. With the secondary training methods that will hopefully also be there for launch. And those methods will give new resources, which will also feed into the production skills with new logs, ores, fish, and coral. So I think that's very healthy for the game. And since those skills are pretty pointless, the production skills to train in this era of the game, and the economy, everything just costs money and there's no real benefit of having high crafting anymore or whatever, since you can just get everything from PVM or just buy it off the GE. But sailing still looks different compared to the rest of the game, and that is something I can agree with. Especially if you just see someone play it, like if they do like the playtests, like the streams, like I don't think that's like a good selling point for the skill, because it actually looks pretty ass if you just look at it. And yeah, you don't really know what's going on, that can look pretty jarring, but I kind of felt the same about like all that, especially in like the early development, where they had like this gigantic ship that looked insanely out of place and the movement was like very bad, so I was like, oh my god, like this game is actually done for with sailing. But after playing the alpha in the NDA like group, I was like, oh, we're going somewhere. Like Husky made the Barracuda trials, and I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. Like, yeah, I was kind of happy seeing that. Then like the improved version at RuneFest was like, well, even better. Then the even more like polished open alpha that we have right now is like pretty good, man. I think we are actually in for a solid skill this year. So if you haven't played the alpha yet, like please try it out. But do keep in mind that we are only like having access to level 1 to like 30 or like 40 sailing with the Barracuda trial, so it's not the full skill. But I hear people say that quite a bit, like, oh, this shit's boring, man, like the whole skill is the same. So yeah, it's not, man. This is like 1 hour of content, pretty much. But let's dive into the open alpha. Like I played it quite a bit on stream. It was not perfect, so there were some like DCing problems that more players had that you just randomly got kicked out. And there were some visual like bugs with the GPU plugin, I think. But overall, like, people also hate kind of on the intro questing sometimes, like where there's like a hand-holding intro for something. But I think the intro quest actually felt like a normal quest to me, and it was explaining some things, but not like crazy handhold tutorials that minigames like Guardians of the Rift or Giant's Foundry have. And yeah, after I was done, I was like, oh, I completed the quest, but I also like subconsciously just like knew where I had to like go for customizing my ship and do like port tasks. It was not like, yeah, it didn't feel like forced to me, so I think that's good. I think the quest was fine. And then we had to do like port tasks after that, which like they're pretty chill, just sailing back and forth and just grabbing the cargo. But I don't know, the cargo grabbing definitely was a little annoying pretty quickly. But yeah, for like a level 6 training method, like pretty good. Like every skilling method early on is just not great and streamlined. Like you unlock the better stuff and the quality of life later on. Since there's also a crew system coming with the skill, where you can have like some NPCs to help out on your ship. So I can definitely see the port tasks getting like way more quality of life with that you can have your crew like do the cargo loading and that kind of stuff. Hopefully it goes like kind of instant, like when you just arrive at a port and then the cargo is just already there with your crew or whatever. But yeah, that seems fine. People just are a little bit too hung up on that it just feels bad. But keep in mind, level 1 through 30 sailing or 1 through 30 any skill kind of just blows a little bit. But we also had bounty tasks on the notice board, which we couldn't do since ship combat isn't like in the game yet. And I think those could be really fun if ship combat is done well, which I think it will be. Like, it just doesn't sound too complicated. And I'm pretty sure ship combat will also give sailing XP, since the core like loop of the skill is just interacting with ship facilities. So if I click on my cannon to fire it, or ballista, or whatever kind of weapon I have, like that's gonna give sailing XP. And there was also a mention of ship PvP, but I don't think we're gonna see that on launch. But it could be interesting to have something like that, but I don't know. That feels more like a minigame to me that could come later, and not so much like dedicating an entire part of Ocean to like ship PvP. That sounds a little bit silly, I think, but we'll see. We had some upgrading as well. Like it's kind of like a floating POH in a way on the water, where there's like lots of hotspots where you can build things for your ship. So that was also cool to see how that worked, and it worked like pretty smoothly, I would say. I was quite, quite positive about this. This wasn't like part of the closed playtests I've done. It was only part of the RuneFest build, I'm pretty sure, and this one. So that was kind of cool to like test out as well. I also figured out the wind catcher thing. Like I just happened to build it, but it turned out to be like very good. But Husky said that the XP was kind of overtuned and is probably gonna get like nerfed in the real build. But yeah, it was kind of fun to use though, like the saving the wind like speed boost for like a part where you would need it in the Barracuda trial or whatever. I think like charting the seas was also very solid. Like I didn't really interact with it too much because the XP was just kind of bad, but the idea of just like going around and just checking out the scenery and just like charting things and yeah, just doing that kind of stuff was very like chill. Like it was a little adventure that you can go on, and it probably would give some cosmetics, I think, in the main game when it finally releases. I think like if you complete like an area of all the like charting things or other activities to do there, that you could get like some, I don't know, some different color flag of that area. I don't know, but something to like have cosmetic from that would be cool, I think. Didn't really interact too much with the weather troll and the mermaids because those things seemed kind of clunky and just didn't interest me, so I have not really any thoughts on those, but I heard from people that they are pretty bad and you probably get like a little bit of an overhaul. And then, once you hit level 12, you can actually do the fun stuff. Then we have shipwreck salvaging, which is supposed to be the AFK training method, but of course I am just me, and I like to make things not AFK anymore. But you can actually get a double roll if you do a 3-tick action with like the arrival delay, turning a 4-tick action into a 2-tick skilling method, where you get 2 rolls every 4 ticks. And then you can also combine it with like the wind catcher thing and like trimming the sails if you're just sailing directly into the shipwreck, which was probably unintended and might be fixed, but it was actually really good XP an hour if you did this. It was better than the port tasks. But yeah, I was having amazing time with this. Like, I just love like tick manip, of course, but not everybody was a fan of that. I saw some Twitter comments of people not being so happy with that, but I was having a great time. And I also tried the Barracuda trials out a little bit. Also fun, but this one is pretty basic, so not like too crazy, and getting the times is pretty doable, I think, after a couple attempts. And it's kind of nice that you get like a little XP bonus thing once you complete like the new rank. It's like a one-time thing, so it's probably just going to be meta to like when you unlock the new trial to just get all the ranks for the bonus XP, and then just like go do something else that you enjoy, or just like keep doing the trial. Which is, I think, fine for like the pre-99 meta. It did have some jank to it, Barracuda trials. It's like a weird hitbox of your ship. It felt like that your left side was like not picking up the crates as well as the right side, or the other way around. I don't really remember. And you also got stuck like more quickly on like the right side of your ship compared to the left. So it was, it felt like the hitbox was literally a little bit shifted or something. So that was, yeah, a little bit frustrating at times, but it will probably get fixed, and it will be, yeah, that's that's why we have the open alpha to like point that out. I was also kind of confused by the clouds sometimes. Like Husky told me they like lightning twice in a row, but there's not really an indication. At least I'm just blind, but I couldn't really see when it was about to like shoot out the lightning. So I was trying to like go like quickly like under it to like skip it, but then I would still get hit because it just randomly zapped me without like too much indication. At least I felt that way. So maybe that would be a little bit more clear. But overall, Barracuda trial is very fun, and will probably be like together with the shipwreck salvaging like the the highest XP things we're gonna do for 99. And then, like, also, of course, some further criticisms I've, like, been seeing and hearing from other people. Of course, the famous one, this is not a skill, it's a minigame. And I think if you still say it's a minigame, you might be a little washed, I fear. Because the skill has, like, so much more to it that, like, it just can't be a minigame at this point anymore. Like, the Barracuda trial, like, that's a minigame for a skill called sailing. And yeah, I just don't really get people, like, still saying that. They just have not watched anything, I feel like, or not played. Because I actually think, like, in some way they are correct. It's not a skill, because it's actually almost more than a skill what they have, like, made so far. It almost feels like a different game inside old school RuneScape, at least to me. Like, it's so much bigger than any of the other skills we have in this game. Well, in terms of, like combat, of course, is, like, very prevalent in this game. Like, of course, it just is PVM in a way, like the combat skills, but the sailing skill just offers so much. Like, you can just explore, like, the entire ocean with it, and there's just multiple training methods and, like, mini games, and it's a lot, man. So it's not as simple as just, like, click tree or click fishing spot or make potion. It's definitely more than that. So, which is in a way good, but then the other way it's like, didn't we go, like, a little bit too far with this one? So I'm not 100% on that. And also this dungeon you're seeing here, that's on one of the islands that I think requires, like, 20 sailing. It's, like, very far south, like southwest, I think. But it has, like, a bunch of, like, demonic and dragon slayer-like creatures. I think there's, like, a dragonkin skeleton as well somewhere in a dungeon. But you can place a cannon here, and it's multi-combat, and there's regular necryals here. So that's gonna be very, like, impactful for Iron Man, like, Slayer meta, because necryals are being killed for their good seed drop. So if you can just, like, barrage these, pretty nuts. So that is also something I had fun discovering. I'm not sure how to feel about it exactly, but yeah, there's just, like, so much more to explore with sailing. Like, the Great Conch as well is, like, a gigantic island with, like, lots of stuff on it as well, and there's gonna be quests all around the ocean. Like, this is more than a skill that they are putting out here. It's not as simple as just, like, a little, like, area expansion for, like, a skill like thieving, which came with, like, Ardoin and, like, some quests in the city itself. But it is just so much more vast than that. So yeah, it's crazy, man. I saw this tweet from Parks, which was actually, like, some well-spoken feedback for once, because most of the people just say, like, oh, this shit's ass, man. We don't want sailing, boo, like, sailing bad. That's everything people just say. But yeah, this tweet from Parks was actually, like, well, I kind of addressed the first or the second part already of this, but doesn't feel like a skill. But I'll go over the first one first. Like, he's saying it's clunky. Doesn't think it can be fixed. The movement too awkward and un-old school. Simply feels wrong in the game. Partly agree. It definitely feels different, but I think it actually feels way better. Like, I've played the older iterations of this, and holy, we are, like, very far away from that, luckily, with the thing we have right now. And I think that what we have right now is it's yeah, you're kind of, like, still skating on water, and it feels a little jarring. So I kind of hope we do get some more visual stuff for, like, the ocean, like maybe a different texture of water, maybe some motion in the water, maybe some, like, see-through where you can see, like, things laying on the bottom, if that's possible. More like the Fossil Island underwater area, if you can see something like that at certain parts of the ocean, that would be really cool. Probably very expensive art-wise, but I think that would greatly help people feel like the skill feels more alive and less clunky, because yeah, the water not moving and your boat just, like, kind of gliding along. Definitely I can see the thing, but hopefully there's some room to, like, improve that. Doesn't feel like a skill. I feel purposeless doing this. That's probably because it's an open alpha and most people don't really enjoy like doing something that doesn't like progress your account in any way. Like it just doesn't mean anything to get level 30 sailing in this. And it doesn't integrate well into other skills. Has this guy been asleep for like the last 10 years, how they've been updating skills? Like the only thing they have done is like make skills stand alone. Like all the connections between skills, they've just been like separated almost from each other to have like every skilling update is just like an individual skill update to make like mining slightly more tolerable for the people that don't have hands or whatever. So yeah, I don't really get this argument as well, because I pointed out earlier that sailing will actually provide a lot of new resources that will definitely feed into like the gathering skills and also the production skills from that point onward. So yeah, that's just not true what he's saying there, but it's still well spoken, I guess, what he's trying to say. And also too many interfaces. Like the skill does have some interfaces, yeah, but it's also kind of straightforward after a while. Like, yes, the interfaces are there, but it's definitely not the only skill that has interfaces. Like Constriction and Slayer are definitely worse offenders of that, I think personally. But yeah, I don't know. Like I do like hear the passion of people saying like, oh my god, like this skill is actually gonna be ruining the game. So I do feel for them, because I am also like very like critical of like updates they do like over the years. I'm usually pretty negative about it, because that's just the updates we are getting for like the high level skillers. Like everything is just make it easier and yeah, faster, and just not really, yeah, there's not really anything going on mostly for me. So I'm always like kind of critical, especially like the demon spade they put out, like that idea out. That is like horrible, dude. That is one of the worst ideas I've ever heard come out from Jagex. So hopefully we can still like go back on that. But yeah, I'm kind of digressing from the sailing topic here. But yeah, like I think they have just done a pretty decent job at marketing this skill and just like talking to the community about it. And you can say what you want about like the polling percent thing, and I do get that. Like it's not a good look when you lower the polling percentage thing from 75 to 70 and it passes with like 72% or whatever it was. Like that ain't great. Like if it would have passed with like 75 plus, then sure, like it wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, now it's definitely we are definitely in the situation we are in now because of that, because otherwise it would have just failed. And I also think an update this big could have had like a even higher poll percentage pass rate. Like an update that impacts the game to this extent, I feel like you should have had 80% pass rate, maybe even. I don't think that's like something crazy to say, so yeah, let me know what you think about that at least. But oh yeah, one more thing. People also keep saying that like sailing is boring. Like they have played the alpha and they just say like, oh, it's bad. I played it for I went in with no expectations and I played it and it was still bad or whatever. That is fine to say, but like what other skills are actually good from level 1 to level 30? Like if you take thieving for example, like pickpocketing sucks so bad because the fail rates are insane at the early levels that you can't even like do it because you just need so much food, and when you have 10 hit points like as a new account, it is just terrible. Or you can just click a stall for like 15k XP an hour, and the same goes for the gathering skills, honestly. Terrible fail rates, super low XP rates if you don't tick manip. And like, do we even want to talk about early rune crafting on a new account? 1 to level 30 is legit terrible for any skill that, yeah, is in the game pretty much. That's why efficient skilling is to just do a bunch of quests that gives XP in the skill that you actually want to train. And for sailing, that's not really the case. There's not really a quest early on that gives like super, like, yeah, a big amount of XP. so you can skip to level 1 through 30 like straight away with one quest. But there's actually stuff to do for sailing, and the XP rates are actually maybe even higher than some other skills from 1 to 30, which is another point that people like keep bringing up for sailing. Like the XP rate is like way too low, and I don't think that's the case for like the early game. Like you can just get level 30 in like an hour, I'm pretty sure, which is not terrible for like a new skill, I think, or like from doing a skill from level 1. Like that's kind of normal. But I will say that like Mod Elena mentioning 100k on the Sebecast and Husky also like saying that on the live stream, that was definitely not a good move, because I don't think it's actually gonna be that low. I've heard numbers floating around from like 150k to like 200k an hour, maybe even, for the later levels. So I don't know where that 100k came from, and I just left a bad taste in like the majority of the player base's mouth. So I think that was kind of a mistake that they did something like that. But yeah, the XP rates aren't bad, man. People are getting like 50 to 60k an hour at level 30. Like that is pretty similar to, that's even better than most other skills. Like there's no way you're gonna get like 60k an hour in like strength at level 30 when your attack is also like 30. Like that shit's gonna be like fucking 25k an hour. So yeah, I think people are definitely forgetting how skilling is at like a super low level. Like everybody's been like high level for so long that yeah, most people just kind of forget how it works if you don't quest a new skill. So I don't think it's like super out of line compared to the other skills in that aspect. So yeah, we just have to wait and see. And of course, like voice your feedback if it's like well thought out and well spoken, and if you actually have like something to contribute to the discussion, then definitely like type a comment under this video, or like on Twitter to like the JMods or whatever, or the official RS post. But yeah, the sailing gonna be great, man. I think we are in for a treat for this year. But I will say that like maybe postpone the launch a little bit if things aren't looking so like up when it's like autumn, because they announced it for autumn, I think. So if we don't have like fully enough content to like fill in the level 30 to level 99 thing, I think we might want to postpone it a little bit, because Husky was gonna work on Barracuda trials mainly. I think he said he wanted to add like another 4 or 5 trials for launch, so you could probably expect a new trial like every 20-ish levels, like the first one at 30, second one at 50, and then, I don't know, 60, 70, 80, 85, somewhere around that level. And hopefully the secondary methods can also like make it in, like the coral farming and mineral dredging, sea trawling or whatever deep sea trawling is called, and something else with Hunter. That could be cool if those actually make it on launch, because that wasn't also for certain, I think. But yeah, that's all I have to say, I think, for now for sailing. So hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you maybe on the streams or like in the next video. So yeah, take care, everybody.